Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin if you're new here, and it has been a long time since I've uploaded on YouTube. I'm honestly not even sure if I remember how to do this properly, so please bear with me throughout this video. As you can probably tell from the title, today I am gonna be kind of catching up with you guys, explaining where I've been, because up until the last month or so, I've been basically completely absent on social media. I did start uploading on Instagram again a little bit. I'll link my Instagram handle down in the description down below, and I'll put my handle somewhere up here on the screen because I've been really enjoying Instagram, which I'll get into later. But honestly, it just didn't feel right to jump back into filming regular content without some kind of catch up, some kind of life update, because my life looks very different from where I last left you guys back in like maybe April or February. I don't really remember. So first things first, where the heck am I right now? I am not at home. I'm not where I live. I'm at a cabin at this place called the Clydesdale Outpost here in Montana, and I'll link it down below as to like what the Clydesdale Outpost is. This is just coincidence. I knew that I wanted to film this video this weekend, kind of like a get ready with me sort of thing, and then my boyfriend and I got invited to stay at these cabins to help volunteer for like a Halloween event here at the Clydesdale Outpost. And these cabins, you guys, are so cute. This isn't like an ad. I'm not working with them. I literally just coincidentally happened to be invited to stay here in order to help with like the volunteering last night, and then I wanted to film this video and I was like, okay, this is perfect because I figured that it would be really cute. And these cabins, you guys, are so cute. If you're ever planning on visiting like Glacier National Park or Montana, like near where I post a lot of my content, I would highly recommend staying at these cabins at the Clydesdale Outpost. I'm gonna put like a video here on the side because I didn't plan this until I got here. I was like, I need to film an Instagram reel here. They are so cute. So definitely check it out down below. The next thing is this set is from For Love & Lemons. I don't know if you can see it all the way. But it is super cute, so I will be linking that down below as well. So I did do an Instagram question thing, like, you know, where you can ask these sort of questions, and I've barely done any of these before, and I was surprised by how many questions I got of people being like, where are you, what's going on, like what's happening with your life. So I'm gonna go ahead and be answering these. I did take screenshots of them while I'm doing my skincare and makeup, and as you can see right now, I'm dealing with like redness and like dry acne patches that are like flaky, and honestly I almost didn't film this video this weekend because of how my skin looks. Basically what's going on is I switched to a new birth control. I switched to the IUD right before moving back to Montana, which is like a completely different environment for your skin compared to like Southern California. It's like super dry, and then on top of that I wanted to up my retinol usage anyway, so I was like, oh, if I'm already going to be breaking out because I'm switching to a different birth control, I might as well up my retinol at the same time instead of like doing them separately and just breaking out for an entire year essentially. And so my skin has had really good weeks, like the best it's ever looked in my life, and it's had really bad weeks like this, and I'm not super proud of how it's looking right now, but there's not really anything I can do about it. I feel like it is overall getting better. Like this isn't even like active acne. I keep touching it. I should not be touching it. My hands are clean, but it's just like flaky scabs, and I know that's like really gross, but what can you do? I mean, not everyone on social media has perfect skin. So I am starting off with the Ulla Henriksen Sea Brush Brightening Gel Cream. I've been using this literally for years, like since I started YouTube in like 2020, I think, or 2019. And I am obsessed with this product. I've always liked it, but now that I have like actual like dark spots and like acne scars and things that I'm trying to fade, I like feel like I can fully appreciate how good vitamin C is for your skin. I just love the smell. I love the way that makeup looks on top of it, and I honestly do notice a huge difference on like the brightness and overall like tone of my skin when I stop using this, because I've been using it for so long. You know, when you've been using skincare products for a really long time and you're like not even sure if they're working anymore. So I stopped using it for a while, and I am totally obsessed with it, so I don't see myself going off of this for a very long time. And then this is just like the eye cream that kind of goes with it, the Banana Bright Eye Cream. Again, I've been using this since forever, and I've never really considered myself someone with really awful under eye bags or like dark under eye circles. Thank goodness, knock on wood, that might come later in life. But I just, again, noticed a huge difference when I stopped using this and switched to a different eye cream, and I really do enjoy it for the morning time because I don't know if it's just the fact that it's like slightly orange and it leaves like just a slight hint of orange underneath your under eyes, but it just makes me feel and look so awake and moisturized, and I don't see myself putting this down for a very long time. Last for the skincare, and I do use sunscreen, but it's kind of like a sunscreen primer, but last thing for the skincare is the Laneige Lip Sleeping Mask. I have started doing some makeup reels on Instagram, which I've been really enjoying, even though I never really did makeup content before. And I've talked about this before, I think on my blog, which I'm not active on my blog right now, but I still do have a article linked to like all of my favorite skincare and makeup, which I probably need to update. But this is the best lip balm ever. I think I even talked about it in my 2021 favorites. Oh my gosh, I was just rubbing you off. But I have, as someone who has dry lips already and then moved to the mountains, like I have not experienced a lip balm that is nearly as good as this one. Okay, so while this is all drying a little bit, because the products I just used are like a little bit tacky, but I don't mind because it makes me feel like my makeup really sticks to it, I'm gonna start sort of answering questions. As you can probably guess, a lot of them are very similar, like life update, looks like a lot has changed. Have you permanently moved back to Montana? What are you doing? What's going on with your relationship? Just all of this stuff. So I guess I don't really know how to explain it, all of those in order, because they're kind of related. So basically, there's no easy way to say this, but the reason that I stopped uploading on Instagram and YouTube and social media, as I'm sure a lot of you have guessed, is my marriage ended back in May, like mid-May. I don't really remember the exact dates or anything, but I'm not here to talk about why it ended. If you're a personal friend of mine, and I've talked to a few people and texted a few people who kind of figured it out, not that it's like some big secret that I'm trying to hide, it's just not something that people want to project to the world, I guess. You probably know a little bit more about what happened, but it's not something that I'm going to broadcast on the internet. My ex did ask me to please not broadcast anything on the internet, and I wasn't planning on doing it anyway. It's just our business, but if I had to give like one thing, because I know I'm really curious when people talk about relationships on the internet, we just weren't a match at the end of the day. We thought that we were, and I know it's a little bit icky feeling, because when I was first initially uploading onto YouTube, my first few videos were all about being a military wife and, you know, tips and tricks on how to best navigate being a military wife. And I even did a video about like getting married young and like what my experience was with that. And I have not had the courage to look back and watch those videos. I have kept them uploaded because I know a lot of people have written comments on them saying how helpful they were. And from what I remember seeing in those videos, I don't take any of that back. Like, I don't regret getting married young. I don't regret getting married to someone in the military. That wasn't the issue. It wasn't, you know, I know a lot of other young military couples that I'm friends with, even like family members that are young military married couples, and they're doing incredibly well. So I don't think it was the fact that the military was involved or that we were young. I just basically, you know, we thought that each of us were certain people, and then we got married, and we just, for whatever reason, just brought out the absolute worst in each other. And we have talked about it. He and I have talked about it a little bit since we separated, and the general gist, the way that we left things, is just, you know what, this is for the best. It sucks. We should not have gotten married, but we feel like we've learned lessons from it. And this is not to put words in his mouth. Maybe his opinion has changed. We haven't talked in months, and that's fine, but it's just, we should not have gotten married. Okay, so next up is like my sunscreen step. This is the Supergoop Unseen sunscreen. Wow, very YouTube girl holding up my products like that. And I typically will use this, or actually every single day I will either use this Unseen sunscreen, which kind of acts as like a really great primer under makeup because it just really smooths over like the texture that I obviously have going on my skin. Or if I'm doing like a no makeup day, I will use, I think it's a Dr. Jart sunscreen. It doesn't wear as nicely under makeup. It's definitely more for like, you know, oh, I'm doing activities outside, but it's a really, really great face sunscreen. So I'll link that down below as well. but there's no way that you can like really tell on the camera, but it definitely just makes my makeup wear a lot smoother. And I am 25 now, and I'm at a stage in my life where I'm not gonna not wear sunscreens. And again, I kind of feel like I need to apologize for the acne and stuff that I have going on, but like I'll put a photo here, like a selfie that I took, gosh, back in August, and that was like probably the best my skin has ever looked. I had like just gotten over like a really bad breakout, and that is like literally no filter on that photo, which I was incredibly happy about. And then like the next day I had like 3 cysts on my face. So you know, just this is gonna be a journey, and I don't know, I feel like if you have acne as well, and if it's cystic or like mine, or it's like flaky and super red and crusty because you're doing like lots of retinol like I am, and you're just trying to get through the retinol scaries, I'm here with you. This is not like me. I feel like I've never really been someone that's done like a ton of face products and blended them together, but this is what's really been working for me in like the current condition of my skin. Because if you've been on my channel before, you know, like I'm someone who loves like a really natural, fresh looking base, and then like adding like pops of color or like blush and all that stuff. But when your skin is not looking its greatest, it's kind of hard to pull off like the dewy, fresh faced, not caked on makeup look. So this is a combination that's really been working for me. So this used to be my old combination, and if you can't tell what this is because it's so old, this is the Dior Backstage foundation, and this is the Laura Mercier tinted moisturizer. I used to swear by these because this on its own is a little bit too dewy and shiny looking for me. This is the oil-free one, but I've still never loved the finish of this on its own, and this is a little bit too dark for me, and this is like a little too light for me. So I just used to mix these, and I ended up really loving the combination. It's like halfway between a medium tinted or a medium coverage foundation and like a tinted moisturizer. Then when I was like in the depths of my, oh my god, my skin looks really bad, Instagram scroll recently, I came across the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, and this is a super interesting product. I know it like blew up on TikTok, but I'm not really a TikTok girl, which is fine if you are. This is like a TikTok viral product, which is probably why the full size has been sold out since forever. But what it's supposed to be is like a glowy sort of face or base product that you can use on its own all over your face. You can use it as like a highlighter. You can mix it into your foundation. I personally have been mixing it into my foundation. I think it's a little bit too shiny and too glowy like on its own. And I only use a tiny bit, and it makes a huge difference. But like the reason that this works so well for like my skin with all this acne on it is that it kind of like deflects. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the lighting sort of just bounces off of your skin, and you almost, it's like a blurring effect. It literally feels like you're photoshopping your face or something. It just looks like really nice, which is kind of the point. It's literally called Flawless Filter. So what I do, this is kind of elaborate, is I take literally just a dab of this on my hand. And again, I have clean hands, because any more than that and I start to look a little bit greasy as the day goes on, which is interesting because my skin is super dry. And then I just shake this up because it's very watery, and I do like literally, this looks so funny, I do like just a drop on my hand, because I really like don't need a lot of coverage like in most areas of my face. Like from here up, I don't need that much coverage. It's just like my cheeks and chin. So I'm not trying to overdo it on the face makeup. I'll show you my trick. I actually learned it from Desi Perkins like years ago about like how to like really effectively cover up acne without looking like a cake face. So that is kind of sitting together on my hand there, and then I just do enough of this to the point where I feel like I have enough product on my hand to cover my entire face. And I know this is elaborate. I've never been this girl before that's like mixing a million things, but here we are. So I just go ahead and blend this all together on my hand. And then I mostly focus it on the areas that need more coverage. So I'm not really gonna put too much up here, because again, I feel like if you're breaking out, this is like the trick to looking like you still kind of have good-ish skin. Just focus. This looks really funny. I'm making such weird expressions. But again, just focusing the coverage where I need it. Like this isn't even acne anymore. It's like just kind of fading acne scars. But as you can see, like once I've covered up those really crazy looking areas, obviously I'm gonna blend it out, but the rest of my skin, there's like a little redness up here, but it's nothing that I'm like super crazy about trying to get rid of. So just whatever's left on my hand, I'll just put a little bit up there. And then wet beauty blender always. I know this isn't like as popular as it used to be, but I still love it. And I just dab it and focus on the areas that really need the extra coverage, trying to do like a light touch. And the worst part is like this isn't even a pimple anymore, it's kind of just like a flake, like a red angry patch on my face. It's the worst when it's right by your mouth, because I feel like whenever you're making facial expressions it like cracks and sort of changes. But I'm just gonna keep doing this, don't mind me. Okay, so as you can see, I just have that really, really light layer of makeup on, and the camera's actually picking it up a little bit more than what I can see in person, like the redness right here and here. But you know, there was a lot of redness on my cheeks, and you know, again, it's not perfect. You can definitely still see a good amount of my acne like peeking through, but for a very, very light base makeup, I think that that did a really great job. And also I'm just gonna kind of work on like making the focus like on my eyes and lips, so that it's like focus isn't drawn to my acne. And then so I'm gonna do the next step, and then I will keep talking after that. But I'm just someone who really likes to let my face makeup dry a little bit before I move on, and I definitely like to let my concealer dry down a little bit, because I think that it really increases the coverage amount. So this is kind of like a happy accident. These are both NARS Radiant Creamy Concealers. This one is in the shade Light 2.3. And when I was living in Southern California and was just generally more tan, this worked great for me, but it's just not. As you can see, I'm very pale, and it's like a real effort to put on fake tan lately. And so this has been looking a little bit too dark for me in some places. So I picked up this, which is the exact same concealer, obviously, but this is Light shade 2. And this is like a little bit too light for me. I'm just not quite getting the shade matching just right. But I recently have been seeing this trick all over Instagram and TikTok, and I don't think it's something that's like night and day, but I've been seeing where you take a really, really light concealer and you just sort of like draw a small line upward, and it like really, really lifts your face. And when I first got this, I was like, oh, this concealer's too light for me. Like, what should I do with it? And then I saw this trick and I was like, okay, this will work for me. And I've seen like a lot of the girls that do this trick on social media, like they do it in multiple areas of their face. Like they put it here and they put it here. But again, I'm just not trying to over layer the products on my face, because I feel like that's like a sure sign of like, okay, you've got skin issues if you've got like a lot of product laid on there. But honestly, I do feel like it visually sort of lifts my face a little bit. So the trick that I learned from Desi Perkins with this is, again, the light base, and then make really, really concentrated concealer applications very small. Like, don't like rub it around and make like a huge spot. Oops, I just kicked my tripod. So as you can see, I've got a pimple right there, so I'm just gonna put a very concentrated amount on each one. Spread that one a little bit. Let's see. Because I found that if you have a ton of like really wet concealer that's like too much concealer for the spot that you're trying to conceal, again, it just leads to that like crazy cake face look, which, you know, if that's what you're into, I'm not trying to shame anyone. Let's see, I've got this little blue spot on my forehead. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed it before on social media. I'm not gonna layer anything on my chin, even though my chin is red, just because the reason it's red is because it's dry, and I just know my skin, if I layer a ton of product on, it will just get like flaky and angry with me. So just gonna look in a few more places. Like, this is a little bit of redness here, but it's not enough that I'm like really upset about it, so I'm just gonna leave it, because the whole point of this like acne concealing trick is like less is more. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry, and then I will answer some more questions. Okay, so the next question I've been getting a lot is, did you move back to Montana full time? And I did kind of cover it in the last little question segment that I answered, but yes, I am back in Montana full time. I did have a lot of offers from like friends and family to stay with them in Southern California, and as much as I really, really enjoyed living in Southern California for like, I think I was there like a year and a half, it's just not compared to Montana, it's not like where my heart is happy, and there's just a lot of other benefits to being in Montana opposed to Southern California. Obviously, Southern California is crazy expensive. You can make more money. Like, I think the living wage there is like a little bit higher than it is here in Montana. Not that that's really the point, but I don't know. I wanted to experience 4 seasons again. I wanted to be close to my family, and I just fell in love with Montana when my parents moved here back in like 2016, and I always wanted to end up here at some point in my life, but I was like, oh, you know, I'm a military spouse, so I'll retire out there, you know, or whenever my husband's career's done, I'll move out there. But then once that ended, it was like, well, why don't I just go back to Montana? I love it there so much. So yes, I am in Montana full-time. And another question I got a lot was, are you doing social media full-time anymore? And the answer is no. I really wish that I was still doing social media full-time. I really enjoyed doing social media full-time, but most of my connections and like companies that I was working with, you know, obviously it's a lot easier to do in like basically LA's backyard. I was living in Oceanside down there, and not that it's impossible to do here, I just felt like I had taken such a long break from social media, which if it wasn't made clear before, I took that really long break because I just couldn't bring myself to get on camera when my life was like falling apart around me, and I was planning to move back to Montana. It was honestly the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, was choosing to leave that marriage and packing up all my stuff, and with the help of my dad, like moving up here. It was just like very emotionally and just overall very draining. It was like the worst experience of my life, but I'm glad that it's behind me now. But yeah, Montana is just, I don't see myself leaving Montana maybe ever. Like, obviously I'd want to travel, but I feel so at home and happy here, and it's just, the lifestyle's amazing. And if you see me over on my Instagram, like, a lot of people have been telling me over in my Instagram comments and my DMs, like, you look so much happier than you ever have on social media. And honestly, I feel like that's really true. I'm just like so in love with like the nature, and it's just like a totally different lifestyle out here. So yes, I am in Montana full time, and I could not be happier. Okay, so I feel like the concealer has definitely dried down to a level that I'm happy with, and I might honestly do this in the mirror over here because I don't think I could get like a really perfect blend, because the camera is obviously not as good as a mirror. But what you do is you take like literally one finger, and instead of like rubbing it out, just tap the concealer. So you're not like really moving the product too much, like you're not moving it around and increasing the surface area all that much. You're just sort of blending it as lightly as possible. And this is why it's like pretty important to have a concealer color that like really matches your skin, because you're barely like blending it into your skin. But I just found that this is, even though it's not the perfect way would be having perfect skin. That's just not something that I get to have right now, which is totally fine. It's just skin, everyone breaks out. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this over in this mirror over here because I can't really see. Okay, so hopefully you can see on camera now, but even though it's not perfect, like you can still tell that my skin tone is a little bit uneven. And like I said, the camera is weirdly picking up, what is that? The camera is like weirdly picking up the contrast of my skin more than when I look in the mirror over here. When I look in the mirror over here, my skin looks awesome. Yay. So that is still drying down a little bit, so I'm not gonna move on to the next makeup step, but I will answer some more questions. I think I left off with, am I doing social media full time? I am not, and another reason why I'm not doing it is just because, if I'm being completely honest, like, I had it really good as a military wife. I didn't have to pay for rent. I didn't have to pay utilities. I didn't have to pay for, you know, healthcare, all these other things. And that is something that I obviously need to pay for now. And that's not me trying to be like, way, like victim mentality. You know, it was really nice. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss it, because it was like obviously a huge weight off my shoulders financially. But if it's to the point where my husband and I were completely miserable and unhappy and fighting every single day, it's just no amount of financial savings in the world at the end of the day was making that worth it to me. Not that I would have like, oh, I'm staying because of the benefits, which is I know it's something that probably people do, but it just wasn't worth it to me. And so I do work like a regular 9 to 5. I work at a bank, and I really love it. I am sort of still creating content where I can. I do have like a tentative content schedule. I'm hoping to be on YouTube once a week, and then also on Instagram like every other day, like 15 posts a month is sort of my goal. Knock on wood, it's been going okay so far. I did fall a little bit behind on Instagram, but then like my goal at the end of the day is I don't want content creation and like my return to social media to be stressful. Like that's something that was really an issue for me when I was living back in Virginia a few years ago, and I was like working a 9 to 5 and trying to create content. I was like hating creating content. I was like, oh, I have to go shoot photos now, which is not like, I originally started this journey because it was really fun, and I've always liked taking photos like since high school. So I'm just trying to, my goal is to not be stressed and to be really, really happy with and like proud of the content I create. I was getting to a point in Southern California where like I just was like throwing stuff up on Instagram being like, ugh, I kind of hate this, and then it wouldn't do well. And I am a really big believer in like, if you're happy with the content that you're creating and you're confident and you're just excited to be putting out the content that you're putting out, it doesn't really matter like what the followers or the likes are, they'll just come naturally. And that has so been the case. Like my social media has been doing, like the engagement and just the way that people are reacting to my content is like the best it's ever been. And I think it's really because I've just been putting, you know, excitement and happiness into it, because there's not the pressure of like, if I don't get a ton of likes and followers from this post, I won't make enough money. Like the money part is fine. I've got another job. So definitely in the future, if it comes down to it, I would love to go back to full-time content creation. I just, until I have, you know, enough money saved up where I feel confident that I could pay for my living expenses while I'm doing it again full-time, or I don't know. It's just not worth the stress for me. And it's been really nice because living in Montana, obviously, I already am going out and doing the fun things, and I'm doing the hikes, and I'm visiting the lakes, and I'm frolicking in the fields, and I'm enjoying the nature. So if I'm also bring a camera and I take incredible content while I'm doing things I would be doing anyway, it's just like such a huge win. So yeah, I just feel very excited. I don't know why, I just have like this weird like wave of like peace and happiness wash over me. I just feel awesome. Totally random one. Where is Pickles? If you're new here, Pickles is my cat. He moved with me to Montana. He's just not here right now, and I haven't been showing a lot of content of him because he was living in my parents' house with me. I did recently move out of my parents' house. I was there for like 4 months. It just was never something that was meant to be permanent. My parents just, when I first, you know, told them about what was happening and they felt so awful and they wanted to help me, they offered, hey, move in, pay rent. It was a really awesome setup, and it was really, really awesome getting to live with them for a few months. But it was just never the long-term plan. And so I have moved in with my boyfriend, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, Pickles, I just never felt comfortable like photographing the inside of my parents' house all that much because it's not really mine to share. I know I've vlogged it before in like a previous Montana Christmas vlog, but I think also a previous Montana summer vlog, which I'll put up above or something, but I don't know. He is with me and he's loving life in our apartment with my boyfriend and I. But actually my makeup's pretty dry now, so let me move on to the next thing and then we'll talk boyfriend. So this is the Hourglass Ambient Light palette, and it is so dirty. Like it's one of these like really shiny products that just picks up like fingerprints and nastiness when it's been in your makeup bag. I bought this palette years ago at the recommendation of, maybe it was Lydia Millen here on YouTube, but I have barely used it because it's one of those things that when I bought it, it's like a very expensive palette, and I love the way that this, oh my god, you can see my mouth in the mirror. I love the way that this looks so much, but it's just because of the price tag, I have to like really push myself to use it, but it'll last me forever, and it's like such a great product. So as you can see, there's like highlighters on top and blushes on the bottom. I've been kind of just like doing a little bit of all of these on my cheeks because it's not like a super pigmented blush. You see my tripod, look, it's you, hi. It's not like the most pigmented blush ever, but it just gives you such a natural like celestial glow. Like candles are just shining off of your dewy skin, which is, you know, what we're going for because we've got skin texture. So I've just literally been like dabbing all of these together, and I really do love this palette because I do like other blushes as well. Like I've become such a blush girl recently, but I have found that some of them do play up my skin texture a little bit because I never really had that much skin texture until moving here and, you know, switching to birth control and retinol. So as you can see, it's not like a massive difference. And the camera will never portray it super accurately, but hopefully you can tell that this is like just ever so slightly more like glowy and soft and pretty than this side. Also, it's like a little bit more flushed. So this is like a great like everyday blush look, which is kind of ironic because I think this palette's like 60 something dollars. But I've been forcing myself to use it and really, really enjoying it. And it's nice because also like, you know, I'm at a cabin right now, I'm not home. And so I've just brought this and I've got, you know, eyeshadow, highlighter, blush, even bronzer like in one palette. And so I think for that it's worth it. The lighting is making this look so much more flush than this side. Okay, so we're just gonna have a ton of blush on today. But anyway, okay, so let's talk boyfriend, because that's like another one that has been really, really big. And luckily everyone's been very nice about it. I was kind of expecting people to be like, what? You have a boyfriend already? Like, what is your problem? So I'm gonna sort of keep this story to a minimum until time goes on, because it is a very, very new relationship, but I've already featured him on social media, on Instagram a few times, because like I said before, like I'm going out with him, I'm doing hikes, like I'm camping with him, I'm enjoying time in nature with him. Like if I'm already there and I have the camera and he's like willing to be in it, then I'm gonna take the photos. Like I'm not like, you know, we need to take photos now. Like, I mean, he's been such a good sport. He's like, oh, did you wanna take photos? Like, you know, some photos I take are just for us and I don't share on social media. But that's why he's like been so heavily featured on my Instagram already, when I didn't really feature my last relationship too much. I'm just gonna pick this highlight just a little bit because my skin's already looking so dewy. And I just never featured my ex-husband that much on my social media because he's in the military, and so also the job that he was doing, like, it wasn't like it was like, I don't know how to get into this. It wasn't like it was like super, super top secret, like he was doing really crazy stuff, but he, you know, he did need to maintain like a certain level of anonymousness online. Like I wasn't really like, I mean, it wasn't something that we were like, that was not an issue. I wasn't like dying to feature him on my content because my content is obviously mostly fashion and beauty, and like I don't really need to show my husband in that. He's not really involved with women's fashion and beauty. But you know, I barely featured him because he was like not home super often, and he was like, you know, exhausted from military stuff and just like didn't have the bandwidth to do stuff with me, which is fine. I totally understand. So I'm gonna do my brows while I'm sort of talking about boyfriend. I have been switching between two brow products a lot lately. So this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze Wax, which I know is pretty popular on social media and I've been really enjoying it. And I've also been using the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Brows, like little brow pencil. I haven't been doing both at the same time. It kind of just depends on the mood that I'm in, because this one doesn't add any color obviously, but it makes them like really dramatic and like sticking up. And then this one adds color, but it doesn't do as good of a job as the wax, like sticking them up. The only reason I stay away from the wax sometimes is if I have like a lot of product on the top of like my eyebrows, like foundation, like if I'm breaking out in this area. I have not been able to find a way to put this on where it doesn't just like kind of get on top of your brows, because obviously you're brushing them up, and if you really want them to stick to your forehead, that sounds weird, but that's the truth. If you really want them to stick to your forehead in like the real stick up way, you kind of have to brush onto your forehead. And I still do laminate my eyebrows. I literally laminated them like 2 days ago, but the kit that I got on Amazon is not as good as the one that I first got when I first started laminating my brows. They just don't sell that one anymore. So as you can see, they're kind of lame. They're not really like sticking up. But honestly, I don't really know. You know what? Let's go for it. Another thing with this product is that it's like kind of goopy. Like if you use too much, your eyebrows have like a really, really slick and shiny look. So you have to like use like just a little bit and then really try not to overdo it. And another thing is that it's messy. Like, you know, stuff will get in this spoolie, and I do like get new eyebrow spoolies every now and then because they're like, you know, you can clean them after you use this brow wax, but you know, inevitably stuff gets in it. Like, that's so gross. I think I have like a little flake in my eyebrow. Do you see that? You probably are like, Caitlin, this is so gross. Okay, real up close and personal today. But you know, every now and then, like I said, if I have like a lot of foundation, oop, I just bumped the tripod. If I have a lot of foundation on, this won't really work because up here I'll get like this weird little like shiny, greasy like foundation line. But other than that, like if I was like a true no makeup girl, I would be using this all the time, but this has like just a little bit more control than this like kind of messy wax. But we're gonna go with this today. But anyway, so let's talk boyfriend while I get really intimately close with you. So obviously I came back to Montana and I was very upset with myself about the divorce. Like, I know a lot of people are like telling me, oh my gosh, like it's not your fault, like, you know, sometimes this just happens, like two people are just not a match. And you know, I did feel like really reassured with people being like, hey, like at least you didn't have kids, like you didn't own a home together. Like there's much messier, much worse divorces than this. I still was frustrated with myself. See, don't those just look kind of natural and nice? This one did not laminate as well as the other one, so it's not sticking up as nicely. But I'm not quite done with these. I'll get back to them. But it was still like, I still felt like I had failed, which sucks because no one in particular really failed. It just sort of fell apart. I'm gonna do my mascara now. This is the Lancome Definicils mascara. I don't know if you'll really be able to see that. There we go. And it is a dark brown mascara, which I've really been loving. Like, this is a weird thing, but if my outfit does not have black in it, I will not wear black mascara because my eyelashes are already super nice and long and curly. I'm blessed. But it will look really intense and like spidery on my face, so I like the dark brown. Unless there's black in my outfit, then I'll wear black, which is probably a bit OCD of me, but whatever. So I really, like, it's hard not to feel like you have failed when you get a divorce. Side note, I always get mascara up here and I'm just gonna have to fix it with a Q-tip later. But I just really felt like, oh my god, I'm 25 and I'm already divorced. Like, what the hell is my problem? And quick side note, so I love this mascara because it gives like a natural look. Like, it's a great everyday mascara, like not super overpowering. And again, I know I'm super lucky with my eyelashes, but I love that. So when I moved back to Montana, I was like, okay, part of the reason why I felt like I had failed is because my husband is the kind of person, like I really am not trying to talk trash, and I don't want to talk trash. Let's see how I can say this. Because there's nothing wrong with the way that he is. It's just, it was not a match for me, and I thought it was. He is someone who, like, he and I were total opposites in like the way that we, you know, like he loved partying and music festivals and going out with the guys and going to bars, which is fine and was fine for me when we met and were dating in college. And that's perfectly acceptable. He's literally a 25-year-old guy. He can go out and party. That's not my issue. But I'm just like not that person, and there was just other things going on that were just like, we were a total mismatch. And to make matters like worse, I have only dated that kind of guy, like the real, and this is, I'm really not trying to be offensive to him. I respect him and I wish him the best, and there are plenty of girls that like the kind of guy that he is, but like, I'm talking like the real jock, the real guy's guy, like the real, you know, just, I don't want to say frat boy, but like he's 25, he's, you know, he's totally entitled to be all of these things, but it's just not what I was looking for in a partner, and I didn't realize that until later. Okay, time to clean up this mascara. But it's just like, I have been dating guys like that since like high school. Like, I've been dating like the class clown, the macho guy, like the, you know, just real kind of stereotypical military guy, and he has so many redeeming qualities. I'm not trying to talk trash. Hopefully that's conveyed in this video. But that's just not what I want in a person. Like, I realized, you know, as our marriage was falling apart and I was like talking to friends and just sort of like self-reflecting, like, I am a sensitive person. I am very emotionally vulnerable. I'm super in tune with my emotions. I don't mind talking about emotions. I'm kind of like an extroverted introvert. Like, I prefer a night in opposed to a night out. Like, there's just a lot of things that I have never really gotten from a partner before. And so when I moved back to Montana, I had this one weekend where my parents were away traveling, and I had the house to myself, and I watched like a ton of Jane Austen movies, and I just like, all of this sort of clicked in my head at the same time, that like, I have been chasing the wrong kind of guy for basically my entire life. Not necessarily like they're bad guys, but it's just, they're not the guys for me. And I don't know why I've always chased these, like, you know, like I said, jock, class clown, funny guy, party guy, fun guy, everyone loves him guy, like, you know, just big chest thumping, motorcycle riding macho men. Like that's who I've always been attracted to, like bad boys and, you know, guys that are tough and strong and a little scary, and like that's something that I've always thought that I really wanted in a relationship, and it has never once worked out for me. They've either been like emotionally unavailable or downright mean to me or not supportive of my interests, or, and I'm not even just talking about my ex-husband, I'm talking about boyfriends, you know, guys that I've just seen casually. Like I've always chased that person, I've never felt satisfied. So I had this really sad weekend where I was watching a ton of Jane Austen movies and just crying and crying and crying, because I was like, where's my Mr. Darcy? Like, where's all of these men, you know? And then, so I really do believe in like the power of manifestation, and I honestly was like, you know what I'm gonna do? My best friend Tatum told me that when she met her husband, and they are like the perfect match, when she met her husband was the first moment in her entire life when she had, well, maybe not her entire life, maybe since she's been dating guys, when she had not been chasing guys before. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is like the sad weekend. I'm gonna stop chasing guys. I am going to focus on myself. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to literally write a list in like my little manifestation journal of like all of the qualities that I need in a partner, and I am not gonna budge on this list. I need someone, I wish I had it with me, but it's like back in the apartment. I need someone who is loving and affectionate, you know, doesn't put me down for my hobbies, is like a family person, loves spending time outside, supports my interests, supports my goals. You know, I would obviously do the same for him. I just made this really long list of like, even down to the nitty-gritty, like my first love language is physical touch, and that's something that I really need in a relationship, otherwise I don't feel loved. And so like someone who is okay with like physical touch, or even like really enjoys it, and just, you know, a very specific, pretty long list. This is probably making me sound like I'm super high maintenance, but I just, you know, I really wanted to make a list so that way when I come across a guy, I don't end up falling into that same trap again of like, oh, he's hot and he's a bad boy and all. Like I even though that's sexy and fun for like a little bit of time, it's not something that I have ever been able to make a long partnership work with. I've just realized I'm like not even doing my makeup anymore. So let me quickly do, this is the Yves Saint Laurent or the YSL Beauty Tatouage Couture lipstick. It's like, it's called a lipstick, but it's really just like a lip stain. And so what I've been doing with this, which I love because I can do things like with my mouth, that sounds really inappropriate, like eating and talking, and not worry about it getting everywhere and still having like a really nice color. So I just dab it in the center here. This looks crazy. And then I like sort of work this out like this. And this is not really something that I can do while I'm talking. It looks like I have a little red mustache. So I'm gonna work on this and then I'll come back and we'll talk. Okay, I'm back. And there is like a little bit of a dry down time with this lip stain, and sometimes it can like, if I'm being messy with my finger, it can kind of like get in the corner. This is like probably the least attractive thing I've ever done on the internet. But you see how that like just looks like so like natural and juicy, like the whole like just had a popsicle sort of look, and it's just really flattering. And also like I feel like it draws away from my acne. Like I feel like you can barely even like really register that I have like uneven skin because you're so focused on like eyebrows and lips and eyes and stuff. So I made this list and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna keep this list to the side here. I'm going to focus on improving myself. I'm gonna, you know, really focus on my health and my sleep, and, you know, planning to get back to social media and figuring out what's best for me, getting my finances in order, just really waking up every morning and being the best version of myself. And I feel really grateful that I've kind of pulled that off, because I'm like not miserable when I wake up in the morning every single morning, and, you know, after a night of crying. And so anyway, so I met him at work, and when I first met him I was like, oh, you know, he's really cute, he's a little bit younger than me, but mostly it was just like, oh, this is someone that I'd like to get to know. He's funny, he's like really hardworking, he's like being promoted very quickly through the company, so he's ambitious and he's hardworking and driven, which is like something that's like on my list. But I wasn't really even thinking about him in terms of like a romantic partner. I was just like, oh, you know, I'm new to the Valley, so I have a few friends here and there, but I'm gonna have to like make new friends again, so I at least want to hang out with him. Like, he seems really cool. So we were like texting a little bit and like kind of unable to read each other's vibe, if that makes any sense. Like, we later, when we actually were talking and admitted to each other that like we had huge crushes on each other, we were like, oh my god, I literally thought you were just being super nice. Like, it was just kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say it was like a Jane Austen situation where we didn't realize we liked each other, but like kind of. And so, you know, we're talking, we're texting, we finally hang out. And I just want to be clear here, I was not looking to date anyone. I wasn't like trying to jump into another relationship. This really surprised me. I was really hoping to actually be alone for longer, but when I did meet him, and you know, everything just clicked so perfectly. It was like, this would be throwing away a huge opportunity if I didn't pursue this. And so we went on our first date, and it was sincerely the best first date I have ever been on. And I don't know if it's like the power of manifestation. I like put out into the universe and really made it clear with myself, like, this is exactly who I'm looking for. I don't necessarily mean him specifically, but like, this kind of person is exactly who I'm looking for. And I knew him through work, but once I started getting to know him personally, it was every single box was ticked. And I had actually forgot about the list. Like, I was so busy focusing on myself that I had forgotten about the list at all, because like I said, I wasn't planning on jumping back into dating. I was like, honestly, I was gonna give myself a year before I jumped back into dating, but then this perfect person just like fell into my lap really quickly. And I am just feeling like the luckiest person alive. So I forgot about the list, went back and looked at it later, and I was seriously blown away by like physical touch, check, loves PDA in person, in real life, like check, like, or PDA in public, you know, like sincerely supports and cares about my interests, check, like loves spending time outdoors, check, loves my family, check. Like, it was just like the most perfect, and it's a huge list. And I was like crying as I was reading this list, because I was like, oh my gosh, like my friend Tatum was right. I literally closed the book on that list and decided to focus on myself, and this perfect person walked into my life. And before anyone's like, Caitlin, you just got out of a relationship, like, are you out of your mind? Like, we're not jumping into getting married like I did the first time. Like, you know, it's like, honestly, it's one of those things where like, when we first started dating, because we are coworkers, and you know, people at work started finding out, which is fine because we work in 2 different departments anyway. You know, we were like, you know what, people knew that I had come home because of my marriage ending. And so we were like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna be judging me. But honestly, what we kept telling ourselves is like, it's one of these relationships and situations where like, if you are not in the relationship, or one of the 2 of us, then it's just something that some people might not understand. And he has absolutely no issues with the fact that I have just gotten out of a relationship, a marriage. He's just very, you know, understanding and sincere and kind, and I just feel so lucky. So I'm not going to be like featuring him a whole lot on this channel as like kind of my plan. He's probably just going to pop up on my Instagram here and there, but I did not expect this relationship to happen. I didn't think it was possible for me to feel this happy in my entire life. So yeah, I'm very excited for this, and you know, hopefully it lasts a long time. So okay, last 2 steps of makeup, and I'll see what other questions I have, but obviously those were like the really big ones. So this is the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. I am basically out of this stuff, but if you've been on my channel before, I swear by this. I'm just gonna quickly do a spray, which I feel like is very awkward to do on camera, but I first started using this product years ago, just when I wanted to like just purely set my makeup, which is what this is intended for. But as I've had to, you know, use a bit more coverage on my skin than I would like to, something that I love this product for is that it's, as a finishing touch, it just sort of like blends all the layers of your makeup together, because obviously it gets them all a little bit wet, and they just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, it just feels like it really just blends and sets everything into place, and I am obsessed with it. And something else that sometimes happens, this is the final step of my makeup, is the setting spray getting on my eyebrows will kind of like make them get a little bit tacky again, like kind of re-wet the gel. So I just brush these up like one more time. And I feel like I used to be such a perfectionist with my eyebrows, but you know what? I'm happy with them and they're more like natural state. So I am officially done with like my sort of everyday glowy, I have acne, but kind of trying to keep that on the down low makeup. Not a question, but you look so happy right now, sending love. Thank you. I know, I feel like so many people have been saying that, but I feel so lucky that I've met my boyfriend, and that not that my happiness relies on a man like that, but it just is the best. Let's see, when will you be back on YouTube? Now. I was planning on being back in August, but life was just getting really crazy with new job and new relationship and everything. And also current thoughts on the direction of social media. Where are you taking your social media? I have obviously not jumped on the TikTok train. I know that everyone swears about TikTok that it's like the latest and greatest thing for creators, but like I said a little bit before, my priority on social media right now is to create content that I am proud of and like feels beautiful and elegant. And so that's something that I kind of want to get back to on this channel. I first founded it. I first started this channel with the intention of creating like more luxurious, elegant content that was more focused on like actual clothing and fashion items, which I still want to do. But what I've learned through moving back to Montana, because I didn't live in LA, but Southern California is a very like material focused place. It's like, what are you wearing? You know, what do you look like? Which is awesome. But since moving back to Montana, I have really feel like I've relearned like what luxury means to me, and that is like being in nature and enjoying the seasons and enjoying experiences. And so I kind of want my channel to be sort of a mix, like all my social medias to be a mix of, you know, luxurious fashion and fashion items and beauty and beautiful outfits and, you know, the way that I look physically. But I want to pair that with like my love for experiences and, you know, I don't want to say spirituality, but a little bit like just sort of not just prioritizing things, but prioritizing like experiences and sharing beautiful imagery. And it's kind of a bummer that Instagram has strayed away from photos. I know that a lot of creators, myself included, kind of wish it was still only photos, but you know, my reels have changed a lot. They used to be very like, you know, outfit focused, which they still will be, don't get me wrong, but I'm also planning on throwing in, you know, makeup and travel and, you know, just life experiences and like beautiful things that are sort of outside of the realm of what you're wearing and what you look like. So hopefully that makes sense. And I know you guys have really been enjoying my Instagram, so like I said, go ahead and pop over to my Instagram and follow me over there, because that's just like, I have not been so happy with the way that my Instagram content is in so long, which I know I already touched on. So just, I would really appreciate it if you could check it out and like and comment and all that stuff, interact, and it would just mean the world to me, because I don't know, I feel like I'm just so happy with it. Okay, so that is the end of this video. I know it has been a super long one. I had a feeling it would be a long one because I'm talking through makeup and I'm talking through my life. And like I said, I am going to be back on Instagram and YouTube. Instagram every other day and YouTube once a week. So feel free to subscribe down below if you are excited for me to be back and making more fashion content and lifestyle content. I am just so excited to be talking to you guys and talking about the things that we enjoy and inspiring each other. So yeah, if you have anything that you want to talk to me about, feel free to comment down below or message me over on my Instagram. That's probably where I talk to you guys the most, is in my Instagram DMs. And just thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, which I promise will be next week. Bye.